Rapper Lil Durk's federal murder-for-hire trial is rapidly approaching, and prosecutors want to introduce some of his song lyrics as evidence against him.
Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
On for them grade, real niggas on feelings. It's different. Man, you feed a nigga for 12 years, he come home with a wire.
October 24th, 2024, federal agents walked into Lil Durk's Miami mansion and arrested the 32-year-old rapper on a murder-for-hire indictment.
Rapper Lil Durk is charged in a murder-for-hire plot.
Lil Durk's real name is Durk Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond.
But the twist that destroyed OTF wasn't the arrest. It was how the feds built the case. Durk was brought down from the inside. A childhood friend named Kacey Hester, OTF Jam, wore an FBI wire for months, recording every conversation.
Let me hope that bitch I roll over arm mark. They found me with a cast. So I lift my shit up. I'm like, man, this thing boom.
How does a man who did 12 years in federal prison without snitching become the government's most valuable cooperator? What exactly did that wire pick up? Let's get into it. To understand why Durk's name ended up on a federal indictment, you have to go back 4 years. November 6th, 2020. King Von was at Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, a spot on Piedmont Avenue in the heart of the city's nightlife district. Von was 26 years old, fresh off the success of his debut album, Welcome to O Block.
Tryna beat me, tell him do what I do. Gotta keep a block every time that I move.
Signed to Lil Durk's OTF label, a rising star with Durk's machine behind him, co-signed, mentored, protected. It was more than a record label. It was a crew, a gang, a brotherhood of street figures and rappers bound together through Durk's vision. But Monaco that night wasn't safe. Quando Rondo pulled up, and with him came his crew. Quando was from Savannah, Georgia. He had his own beef brewing, his own crew behind him. The exact sequence of what happened next is contested in court, but the end result was undeniable. Von was shot multiple times. He collapsed on the pavement outside that hookah bar. The shooting was captured on surveillance video. The Chicago drill rapper, the rising star, the OTF member who had been with Durk since the beginning, dead at 26.
Police say the rapper was shot after an argument broke out between two groups of men in the parking lot of a lounge in Atlanta, and the argument escalated into gunfire between the groups.
The shooter was never arrested for Von's murder, but the streets knew who people blamed. Quando Rondo's cousin, Lul Tim, was present. Quando Rondo himself had beef with Von's crew stretching back to an earlier altercation, a confrontation that some say sparked the trajectory toward Monaco. The details of their conflict weren't just the usual rap beef. This was real street violence, real consequences. And for OTF, for Durk, King Von's death was a wound that wouldn't close. Von had been one of them, one of Durk's most loyal signees. The loss created a debt that, according to federal prosecutors, Durk decided to settle. Not through the justice system, not through a lawsuit, through the streets, through a murder-for-hire contract, through whatever it took to get revenge. Between November 2020 and August 2022, law enforcement alleges that Lil Durk orchestrated a murder-for-hire plot targeting Sabiaya Lul Pab Robinson, Quando Rondo's cousin, a man prosecutors say was present at Monaco Hookah Lounge on the night King Von died. Durk never stood on a street corner with a sign-up sheet. The plot unfolded in recorded phone calls, conversations in cars, meetings at safe houses, and most damning, through the FBI wire that OTF Jam was wearing. According to court documents, Durk used coded language to discuss the hit. He referred to Lul Pab using street names, referred to the murder as a job that needed doing, and allegedly offered money to anyone willing to execute it. The indictment states that Durk told co-conspirators the bounty was on and that the job needed to be handled. Specific dollar amounts are mentioned in the charging documents. Rumors on the street suggested amounts ranging from $100,000 to over $1 million. Money to incentivize killers. Money to make sure Von's death didn't go unanswered. Money that, if the accusations are true, Durk was willing to spend to achieve his revenge. But the recorded evidence that would eventually prove this conspiracy came from one place: OTF Jam, The Wire, and the tape recorder running inside Durk's own circle. The government didn't have to send undercover agents. They didn't have to conduct wiretaps on Durk's phone. They had something better. They had a man on the inside, a childhood friend, someone Durk trusted enough to sit across from at a dinner table, to ride with in a car, to discuss the details of a murder plot with. And that man was recording every word.
Slip me over that bitch, I roll over, arm mark, my dad bombed me with a cast. So I lift my shit up, I'm like, man, this nigga booming, man.
The murder finally happened on August 19th, 2022. Almost 2 years after King Vonner Beverly Grove area of Los Angeles. A gas station parking lot. Saviaya Lul Pab Robinson was there when a shooter pulled up and opened fire. Multiple shots. Robinson was hit. He collapsed. He died.
Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
The shooter fled. Another death. Another family destroyed. Another consequence of the original conflict at Monaco Hookah Lounge. For Durk, for OTF, the debt was settled. Von's death had been answered. The beef with Quando Rondo had been taken to its logical conclusion, the death of Quando's family member. But what Durk didn't know, what OTF didn't know, was that every call he made about the hit, every conversation about the bounty, every meeting to coordinate the murder was being recorded. Not by the LAPD, not by the FBI through a distant phone tap, but by a man sitting right there with him, OTF Jam, the childhood friend, the brother who ate chicken at the same table, rode in the same cars, and who had a wire pinned to his chest feeding every word to federal agents waiting in a van outside. The murder would later become the centerpiece of the federal government's case. It transformed what might have been rumors and street talk into a documented conspiracy. It gave prosecutors the victim, the location, the date, the method, and it gave them recorded evidence of Durk discussing it before the murder happened. Kacey Hester grew up with Durk in Chicago. They came up together in the streets. OTF, Organized the Family, was Durk's crew, his label, his identity. Jam was part of it from the beginning. He was close to Durk, one of the inner circle. He was trusted. He was family in the way that street crews define family. But Jam had his own problems. In 2010, when he was young, Jam caught a shooting charge, a federal case. The case dragged on. He was convicted. He did 12 years in federal prison.
12 years flat. 12 years. Like 12 years. Did my time. Ain't told on nobody. Right? Ain't no food on my name.
12 years away from the streets, away from Durk, away from OTF. 12 years of his life behind bars. But on March 1st, 2022, Jam got out. His federal sentence was done. He walked out of prison, back into Chicago, back into the streets, back into the OTF fold. By all accounts, Durk welcomed him home. There was a celebration. Durk brought Jam back into the circle, reintegrated him, showed that loyalty meant something, that doing 12 years without snitching meant something. Jam was reestablished. He was brought back into meetings, into conversations, into the inner workings of OTF. What Jam faced in those months of freedom was a choice: stay clean, live straight, or go back to the life. Most people who do 12-year federal bids and walk out aren't immediately wired by the FBI to become confidential informants against their oldest friends. That's not how loyalty works on the streets. But Jam did it. Federal agents approached him. Whether they offered him immunity, money, or threatened to send him back, the details remain sealed in federal court filings. But what happened next was a calculated decision: either stay loyal to Durk or cooperate with the government. From the government's perspective, it was a crucial break in a murder investigation. The exact moment Jam agreed to cooperate with the FBI hasn't been publicly detailed, but timeline analysis suggests it happened sometime in late 2023 or early 2024, nearly 2 years after Lul Pab's murder. At that point, federal agents had been building their case in relative darkness. They likely had street intelligence, maybe tips about the bounty, intercepted conversations, maybe surveillance of OTF members. But what they really needed was evidence, recorded evidence. A witness who could testify that Durk ordered the hit. Jam became that witness. He agreed to wear a wire. Specifically, federal agents equipped him with a confidential recording device, CRD, a hidden microphone that would capture every conversation he had with Durk, with other OTF members, with anyone discussing the murder-for-hire plot. Jam went back into OTF. He went back around Durk, and every conversation was being fed directly to FBI listening posts. FBI agents in cars outside, prosecutors monitoring the feed in real time. A full federal operation running on Jam's body. What Jam recorded during those months was devastating to Durk's defense. Prosecutors allege the recordings captured Durk discussing the bounty, discussing the hit, discussing his motivation, revenge for King Von, discussing the specific names of people he wanted to use as shooters, discussing money. The federal complaint references multiple recorded conversations in which the conspiracy was discussed, plotted, and confirmed. Those recordings became the backbone of the government's case against Durk and all of his co-conspirators. On October 24, 2024, after months of building the case on Jam's recordings, federal agents moved. They had a sealed indictment. Federal prosecutors had reviewed the tapes. The evidence was solid. They moved on Durk. He was arrested at his Miami home.
Rapper Lil Durk is charged in a murder-for-hire plot.
Lil Durk's real name is Durk Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond.
He was charged with murder for hire, conspiracy, and using a firearm in connection with a crime of violence. His bond was set at $1 million. The charges carried a potential sentence of life imprisonment. He could spend the rest of his life in federal prison. But within hours, a video surfaced online that became the face of the case. OTF Jam sitting in an FBI interrogation room, eating a Big Mac and fries from McDonald's, looking relaxed, unbothered, like a man at peace with what he'd done. He's smiling. He's eating junk food while his childhood friend is being processed in federal custody. The image went viral across social media, across hip-hop forums, across every platform that tracks high-profile arrests. It became the perfect visual representation of the betrayal, the wire, the recordings, the destruction of OTF from within, all captured in one casual frame of an informant eating McDonald's while his best friend loses his freedom.
On photo grade realness on feelings, it's different. Man, you feeding for 12 years, he come home with a wire.
Later, Jam posted on Instagram a message claiming that he wasn't the one who got Durk arrested, that the feds had gotten to him independently, that he wasn't a rat. But the indictment told a different story. The charges specifically cited recordings as evidence. Those recordings had a source, and that source was wearing a device under his clothes, recording every conversation, eating McDonald's in FBI interrogation rooms, and living with the knowledge of what he'd done to his oldest friend. The indictment didn't charge Durk alone. It charged 6 co-defendants: DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, Asa Houston, and 2 others whose names have been kept more private. These were the men prosecutors say carried out the hit or facilitated it.
This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused and taking part in that murder-for-hire plot.
Wilson, according to federal charges, was one of the shooters at the Beverly Grove gas station. He pulled the trigger that killed Lul Pab. Jones allegedly helped plan the hit and discuss the bounty with Durk. Lindsay coordinated logistics. Houston was brought into the conspiracy. The network extended from Chicago to Los Angeles, a coordinated multi-state conspiracy to commit murder in retaliation for King Von's death. The indictment draws a direct line from Von's death to the murder-for-hire conspiracy. OTF member killed in November 2020. Bounty placed in the months after. Murder executed in August 2022. Arrests in October 2024. The government's narrative is airtight. If the recordings from Jam prove that Durk ordered it, and that's what the trial will be about. It will be about whether those recordings are authentic, whether they can be authenticated in court, whether Jam is a credible witness or a liar with reasons to cooperate. Lil Durk hired Brian Steele as his lead attorney, the same lawyer who defended Gunna in the YSL RICO case alongside Young Thug's legal team.
Brian Steele joins Drew Finland to form a dream team defense for Lil Durk's murder case.
Brian Steele, the truth.
What chances do you give Lil Durk?
Steele is one of the most prominent hip-hop defense lawyers in the country. His hire signals that Durk is mounting a serious, well-funded defense. But even the best lawyer faces an uphill battle when the evidence is recorded conversations between the defendant and a cooperating witness. Steele's strategy will likely focus on several fronts: challenging the reliability of the recordings, attacking Jam's credibility as a cooperating witness, arguing that coded language and street talk don't constitute legally binding orders to commit murder, and potentially arguing that even if Durk discussed revenge, discussing revenge is different from actually ordering a specific hit on a specific person. There's also the possibility of motions to suppress the recordings if they were obtained without proper authorization, or if Jam's cooperation agreement was undisclosed during discovery. In federal trials, the admissibility of recorded conversations depends on how and where they were made. If Jam wasn't legally designated as a cooperating witness at the time he started recording, there could be Fourth Amendment issues. The trial was originally scheduled for late 2024, but has been postponed to August 2026. That gives the defense 20 months to prepare, to file motions, to depose Jam, to challenge the government's case at every step. It also gives time for potential plea negotiations. Durk could accept a guilty plea to lesser charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. But as of now, he's maintained his innocence. The OTF organization has been decimated by these arrests. Multiple members indicted, Durk facing life in prison, the label's operations disrupted, planned tours canceled, and the source of the destruction, OTF Jam, is still out there, living with the consequences of his cooperation. Whether he was forced by the FBI, whether he made a deal that reduced his own federal sentence, whether he simply decided that loyalty to Durk wasn't worth the legal risk, only he and federal agents know. The cooperation agreement is sealed. For the hip-hop community, the case raises broader questions about the limits of loyalty, the willingness of law enforcement to flip members of criminal organizations, and the use of recorded evidence in prosecuting street figures. Lyrics have been used as evidence in other cases. Travis Scott's "Sicko Mode" was cited in a Supreme Court brief about rap evidence. But here, the evidence isn't rhymes. It's recorded conversations. Conversations that only exist because a childhood friend became a wire. Lil Durk sits in federal custody, awaiting trial. The trial date is August 2026, more than a year away. His defense team is preparing motions to challenge the evidence. The prosecution is building its case around Jam's recordings, and in the middle of it all is OTF Jam, the informant who recorded it all, the McDonald's eating wire, the man who destroyed his childhood friend's freedom for a deal with the federal government. This case will likely set a precedent for how cooperating witnesses are used in gang-related murder prosecutions, how recorded evidence is presented in court, and what happens when street loyalty collides with federal leverage. The trial will be the most significant hip-hop criminal case since YSL, and it all hinges on one man's decision to wear a wire for the FBI.